All right, Shalawam Akim wa Akiwa, brothers and sisters. Today we're going to go over a brief topic, or basically just one verse in the scripture, because we know that we just finished Passover in April, and the next feast day is the Feast of Weeks, or the Feast of Pentecost in the Greek. So there's some confusion as to when this feast actually drops on. When does it come in? We have our feast day for Pentecost on May the 30th, right? So I'm going to just go through the basic scripture that we get confused on, and that is Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 15 and 16. So I'm going to read that for you. And in verse 16, there's a key word that we need to get some understanding on, right? So we're going to start off in verse 15, right? So I'm going to read that. Leviticus 23 and verse 15. And it says, "And ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that you brought the sheaf of the wave offering, 7 Sabbaths shall be complete," right? This is a key verse right here, right? Verse 16, "Even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath shall ye number 50 days, and ye shall offer a new meat offering unto Yahweh," right? So the problem is in the Hebrew. So that's what we're going to go through right now. Verse 16, we're going to get that in the Hebrew, because when you read in the English, in verse 16, it tells you that the morrow after the 7th Sabbath shall ye number. This is the word here that we're having trouble with, because when brothers read that, their concept is that you have 7 Sabbaths, and then the morrow after the Sabbath, you have to number, or you have to add 50 more days. Now, we're going to go through the Hebrew to find out if that word is actually fitting for the translation that they put right here. Because that word number, 50 days, sounds to some brothers that you need to add 50 more days unto the 7th Sabbath. So unto the 49 days, you add another 50 days. So we're going to go into Hebrew and see and break that word down and see what word actually supposed to be there or actually fits in that text, right? So I'm going to read here the Hebrew in Leviticus 23 and verse 16. And it says, "Id, Mamakaroth, Hashabath, Hashabaya'ith, Thasapawa." Now this word right here, Thasapawa, is a key word that we're going to break down, right? Hashemayim Yawum, or Chamashim Yawum, Wahatha Korabtam, Manacha, Ha-Chadash, La Yahweh, right? So this is the Hebrew here. We're going to try and break it down word for word. Now the word "id" means, they have it here as even to, or still, or until, right? Mamacharath means, they have here to the day, but it actually means the morrow or the day after, right? Or after, from the root word makar, right? So you have Mamacharath, Hashabath, which is the Sabbath, Hashabaya'ith, which is the 7th. So from the top, you would see it would read, "Even from the morrow, the Sabbath, 7th," right? "Even the morrow of the 7th Sabbath, Tha-Sapawa." Now this is the word we're going to concentrate on. Now, those that know Hebrew know that the first thing you have to do is look for the root word inside there. Now the root word in Tha-Sapawa is the word sapar. Now most basic Hebrew you would understand that the word sapar as a noun is used for the word book, right? But it's not being used as a noun here, it's being used as a verb. So the word for sapar in as a verb would mean, I'm going to go to, well, I went to a couple of different sites to get some understanding as to what the word sapar mean, or sapar, the root word, right? So I'm here in Bible Hub, BibleHub.com, in the Hebrew part of it, right? Now here's giving you the Strong's Concordance number, which is 5608, right? You can look that up in any Torah, Tanakh, and you'll see that 5608 is sapar. Now, right here it says part of speech, verb or noun. Definition: to count, recount, or relate. Now, the word sapar, when being used in the Torah and Tanakh, is used for many different meanings, some more than others, right? I'm going to give you some of the meanings that the word sapar as a verb is being used as in the Tanakh. It can be used as assign, count, declare, declared, elapse, measuring, number, numbered, proclaim, recount, recounted, relate, related, speak. These are all different meanings that the word sapar can mean, right? So I'm going to continue down in Bible Hub, and it's going to take me to Brown Driver Briggs. Now here it's going to tell me, it's going to say Payel, and then it's going to say recount or relate. Now, why is it saying recount or relate? If you continue to read on, it says probably ancient denominative form of sapar. Now, what that is saying, that the word sapar, the ancient meaning or the denominative, would most likely be used as recount or relate, right? So when you read that in the original text and the original meaning, you wouldn't put the word number in there, you would use the word recount. So we're going to go back to that verse in the Hebrew, and what we're going to do is we're going to insert that word recount in there and see how that's going to work out, right? And we're also going to go and show you the time of the feast. How long does it take? Because this feast that's coming up, which is the Feast of Weeks or Pentecost, is actually the wheat harvest. Every feast has to do with a harvest, right? The Passover, unleavened bread, had to deal with the barley harvest. Pentecost, Feast of Weeks, deals with the wheat harvest. Even though they're both planted together, the wheat and the barley is always planted during the same season, which is in fall in Israel, right? So let's get to this first. So we're going to go back to the Hebrew, right? And we're going to reinsert the word, right? And see how that sounds and see what you can get from that, right? So it says, even from the morrow of the seventh Sabbath shall you recount 50 days, right? So you might say, well, recount, that sounds the same, but what does the word recount mean, right? Pretty simple word, right? The word re means before, but we're going to go to the dictionary, right? We're going to go here to, let's see, let's go to vocabulary.com and see what the meaning here of recount means, right? This here said recount. As a verb, recount can mean either tell the story of or add up again. As a noun, recount usually refers to the second or third or fourth tally of votes in a close election, right? So the meaning we're going to focus on is to add up again, right? So when you put the word add up again back into Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 16, what you're actually saying is you're going to add up again. What are you going to add up again? Verse 15. Because in verse 15 it says 7 Sabbaths must be numbered, right? But then in verse 16, what did you do? You added another day. So what are you going to have to do? You're going to have to recount. When you recount, you go back from the beginning and count again. So you're tallying up the numbers again. Because in verse 15, you have 7 Sabbaths or 49 days, right? But in verse 16, now you have one more day. So what are you going to do? You're going to start back from verse 15, count the 7 Sabbaths, jump, don't stop at the 7 Sabbaths, but go directly to the next day. And when you recount, you would get 50 days. Not that you're going to add that 7 Sabbaths and add another 50 days, but you're going to recount from the beginning. And when you add that extra day, you will get 50 days. And that 50th day is going to fall on May 30th. Now, why do I say that? Is because, like I said before, the wheat and barley is usually planted at the same time, which is in the fall in Israel. In other states, they might plant the wheat during the springtime. But in Israel, the wheat and barley is planted in the fall season. The fall equinox comes usually around September the 21st, right? Now, when you Google how long does it take for wheat to harvest, no matter what site you go to, it's going to tell you it takes about 8 months, right? So we're going to do the math. Math is very important when dealing with scripture. So if you plant the wheat in the fall, which is around late September, October, right? Let's for edification, let's start at October, right? You got October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. So what do you get? The 8th month, or the 8 months that it takes for the wheat to harvest, is gonna end near the ending of May. It's not gonna come in the summertime between June and July. That is way too long. By that time, the wheat harvest in Israel has already been done with. They've already gathered it, they've already refinished it. That harvest is done when you come to late June, July for your Feast of Pentecost. So that 8 months, you don't have to believe me, Google it. Find out when the wheat harvest is in Israel. Not just anywhere, but it has to be in Israel, right? And you would see that the wheat harvest is usually late May or early June, right? Give or take a day or two, you know? So what we have is our Pentecost falling on May the 30th. That is the proper date for the Feast of Weeks. 50 days, not 7 Sabbaths and 50 days, but 50 days, period. That's where I had to get the word Pentecost from the word penta, meaning 50, right? That's in the Greek, right? So I hope you get some understanding from that, and I hope you have a blessed day and continue to praise the Most High, and hope that you open up your mind to some understanding and that we move forward from here. All right.